So here's a quick disclaimer as to why there is the word duct tape in a title for a Pokemon playthrough. Have you ever had that moment where you return to a save game for Pokemon and it says it cannot find the file, or your save game has completely disappeared for some reason? Well, this is exactly that. I returned to my Pokemon Silver save game to find out that over 155 hours of saved footage was gone. So what I decided to do was I grabbed a fresh battery, I unscrewed the casing for my game, and I replaced the battery, strapping it in place with some duct tape. Hence, the duct tape playthrough. Because I'm going to play all of this all over again, so I can get a new main save game from which to trade Pokemon and items and such. That's the plan. So if you're up for that, and you're up for a somewhat casual playthrough to just build a main team and collect some items, then join me for this one. Right, so for episode 3, I think it is important to know where we're going. It's going to be Ilex Forest, or Ilex, I always get confused. And so before we even go there, I think it's important to get the pronunciation right. So, what does Google say? How do you pronounce the name of this forest?
Ilex, 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 Ilex.
Ilex Forest. Man, I'm so used to saying Ilex Forest, but there's just so many words in Pokemon that I'm used to pronouncing differently than they should have been pronounced, if you know what I mean. And I think even native speakers of English struggle with that. So right now, we're at the start of the whole forest thing. I kind of want this Oddish because I don't want to waste HM cut on my regular Pokemon. So this Oddish is going to be the HM slave or the HM mule. Whichever word doesn't offend you, we'll use that one. And so that's that. We're going for this here Oddish. It's already paralyzed. Giggles is doing a good job. Throwing a Pokeball, and let's see what happens. Alright, immediate catch. Good. Nice. That adds an HM slave to the team. Good. So now we can move on to catch that Farfetch'd further up in the forest. Here's what I think went wrong during the recruitment process for the charcoal cutter dude. When you talk to the little kid I just talked to, it's obvious he doesn't have any badges and so he can't use cut. That also means that a Pokemon from another trainer is not going to obey him. And so, really, this charcoal dude shouldn't have hired a cheap 8-year-old kid to look after his most prized Pokemon, which solidifies his business. He should have just recruited someone with a couple of badges who knew how to do the job. And, I mean, that's basically the whole issue in the working field for everyone today, right? They want cheap, they want easy, they want fast, but they're not thinking ahead, like, even 2 months in front of their own face. And so, yeah, that's my criticism on society, even though we're playing some Pokemon Silver. Alright, a Heatbutt guy, and I'm kind of excited because I told you guys in a previous episode that Glare Heatbutt Dunsparce is a lot of fun, and so that's exactly what we're going for here. TM Heatbutt, booting it up, and sticking it on MVP the Dunsparce. What are we doing here? Well, this is part of my big plan to headbutt trees as much as possible and to hopefully get a Pineco to drop out of a tree. Because, well, it's Gen 2, and I'm a big fan of the Gen 2 bug Pokemon editions, even though a lot of people think bugs suck. I like Heracross, I like Pineco and Fortress, I even like Shuckle. I think Scizor is a cool addition. Lediballedian is even, to some extent, a cool addition. Same goes for Spinnerack and Ariados, and so I'm just trying to get my one cool bug Pokemon from these trees by headbutting them. Unfortunately, I'm not getting the drops in the luck that I want, but, you know, it is what it is.
2 hours later.
Unfortunately for me, I think that means I should just move on from Ilex Forest to Goldenrod and give up on the Pineco for now. It is what it is, but yeah, it's not the end of the world. We can put some other Pokemon on the team, make some other cool combinations. For now, we're moving on to Goldenrod. Okay, skipping the fights on this route below us a little bit and just moving on to Goldenrod. We'll get back to that route later, as there's something I want to pick up there. Wink wink, nudge nudge. You'll see. But first, let's go TM shopping in the Goldenrod Department Store. To Team Rocket, it is of course famous for its free food samples. The main characters in the show come here to buy any kind of items really, but to me it's most known for its TMs. I know a lot of people thought that the TMs at Goldenrod were a bit of a letdown, especially compared to the Celadon City department store's TMs, but I am not one of those people. For example, I really like the elemental punches. I love teaching Thunder Punch, for example, to Typhlosion once he's ready for it. I like using Headbutt on multiple Pokemon. The only problem here is I'm skint broke. I have the money for one TM, but not enough for all of them. And same goes for these beautiful vitamins, they're way too expensive. So I guess like Team Rocket, maybe I should have just stuck to the free samples. Perhaps it is better to earn some money first, at the gym. But to do so, I first want to have my secret weapon. Perhaps by now you've already guessed what I'm planning. Here we are in a patch of grass just below Goldenrod City. I told you guys we would be back here at the start of this episode. Now we're staring off this drowzee, so yeah. Make your guesses. What is this going to be? So, what's the plan here? Hypnosis? Disable? No, I wanted to make use of a good old-fashioned in-game trade. For those of you who are Dutch, ignore the name of the drowzee. And we're going to be trading drowzee for my backup plan. And so after this, the plan is to give all of the XP that I can get to match up and use it as my plan B against Whitney. I often hear people say, that Whitney, gosh darn it, she's tough to beat. And all I'm here to say is, it doesn't have to be that way. You can, for example, use an in-game trade, like I am using, and it will become considerably easier. But maybe you don't like matchup, or you really only want to use Gen 2 Pokemon. I guess in that case I can understand where you're coming from. But right now, just look at this. We're doing pretty well. We're up against a level 18 Clefairy. We need another Karate Chop. And then we move on to the Cow. And here is where I once again make Dunsparce do the dirty work, because I figured that if I can put a glare on this cow, then even if Dunsparce faints, we have a speed advantage with any other Pokemon on the team, which would really help if we're going to use matchup again to clean this up later. So yeah, the MVP does the prep work, the dirty work, then we set it up so that anything else can finish it. And you may have also noticed that this is where I'm also trying to make my Paralyze Flinch combination work. You know, the whole thing I've been bragging about on the Dunsparce. That's what we're trying to do here. Especially since Miltank will often use rollouts, so doing that means I can interrupt that rollout with either Paralyze or a potential Flinch. But there is a big Stomp crit and down goes the MVP, so now it is all up to Muscle again. But with that Paralyze, we can only stay slightly ahead and hit Miltank with a really hard critting Karate Chop or a low kick or some other fighting move. As you can see, that just barely tilts us towards a KO. It was close, that Stomp did a lot of damage, but thanks to the Paralysis, Muscle picks up the win at the gym here. So, admittedly, that was a closer call than it should have been, but look at this, Muscle is level 19 now, and Whitney's Ace, a cow, is level 20. So imagine if you'd leveled your Pokemon, or at least your Ace, up until level 20. I still won with underlevel Pokemon, and that's pretty much because I brought the matchup, so yeah, I'm really happy with that trade. I'm going to have a look at if I'm going to keep using matchup in future games. For now, I think I'll let fun decide if it stays on the team. And this game, it did a really good job, so yeah. It's looking like a bright future for the matchup. And that is the end of the episode for today. I hope you'll join me again for some more Duct Tape playthrough. I hope you'll join me for episode number 4. And for now, have a nice day, and see you again soon.